Live from the Grand Basin in Clifton, Colorado. It's once again time for a little tape-delayed action for the Fuel Sportsman Series. Hi, hello, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you to tonight's live coverage, tape-delayed action of Friday's race of the Fuel Sportsman Series, the 11th race of the season. The Fuel Sportsman Series, the Grand Junction Grand Prix at Grand Junction. A pleasant good evening to everybody tuning in to tonight's coverage of the 11th race of the season. My name is Trey Wright for the North American Sim Racing Network, and we have got one whale of a show on tap here for tonight's race at the Grand Junction Motorsports Complex. Got a lot of cars here on the grid, and we're getting ready to kick off here. The penultimate race of the season, that man right there pretty much has the championship locked up. That's Dunlop-Prod of the Chester's Family Market number 74 machine. Just needs a solid run here this evening and able to get the job done there for this championship that he has absolutely dominated this season. We'll see if he's able to do that here tonight, but we do have 18 cars on the grid. It should be a fantastic race here this evening as we'll go ahead and go downstairs. This is meet the 18 drivers starting last on the grid. The number 42 Bell South machine of Rafaela Sorensen in row number 9. Then beside her, the number 7 of Tyler Stallhood in a Subaru Thrustmaster machine in row number 9. Row 8, the only blank car on the grid. That's going to be the number 22 of Gustavo Carrillo next to the number 20 AF machine of Lucas Kennedy, starting all the way back in 15th, starting in 14th, making his return to the channel here for the first race we broadcasted in some time on the Fuel Racing League. Driver number 9676, not the 67 Unicol, the 76 Unicol Chevrolet Monte Carlo. Jason Stereo starting in 14th, and then starting in 13th, Corbin Wentz in the number 08 Baby P Ford Taurus. In row number 12, we've got the 9 of Emmy Schizzato and a brand new looking Ford Thunderbird, a beautiful looking Ford Thunderbird. Then next to her is Keon Daly in the Cinnabon number 94 machine. Rounding out the top 10, Davi Barbosa in the number 99 Exide Batteries machine, the in-game car for the number 99 of Jeff Burton. Davi Barbosa will be in that number 99 machine next to Davi in the number 12. A little bit of a Paul Menard throwback there for Blake Warren in the Wrangler. Save big money at Menards, number 12 machine. Then up in here, Vincenzo Focasato starting in 8th in row number 4 with Buddy Campos. And the 006 machine starting in 7th. Back in here, the number 84 machine, rounding out the top 6 of Crystal Bennett. Next to number 86, Dark Matter Coffee Pontiac of Ike Durbin to round out the top 5. Cracking open your top 4, the number 30 of William Gregory in the Quaker State Pontiac. Next to the number 50 of Mike Rutana in that solo number 51 Pontiac. And starting on the front row, no surprise to see these two guys up in the front row. The number 100 Kodak Advantix machine of Apollo Hyde starts on the outside pole. And of course, your odds-on favorite to win the championship, to clinch the championship here this evening, the number 74 of Dunlop-Prod, rounding out the 18 starters on the grid here this evening. Of course, you've got the Pontiac pace car, the Pontiac Grand Prix pace car, ready to lead this field to the green flag here in just a couple of moments. So what do you say we will send it downstairs to get things rolling off here? 18 cars on the grid, one of the biggest lobbies we've had here this season for the Fuel Racing League. We're off and running. Dunlop-Prod starting on the pole position there, that number 74 machine. Everybody getting ready to roll off here on this 3-mile course. Prod, the pole sitter. Field will head down the front straightaway towards the restart zone. Getting ready to kick things off here. There's the green flag waving in the air, and we are off and running for the penultimate race of the season at Grand Junction. And a really good start for LaPrade on the opening lap of the race. Here comes that 50 machine of Mike Rutana. Rutana to the inside of Hyde. You got the 30 of Gregory. Darby Barbosa as well as, nearly getting loose there. That was the 08 of Corbin Wentz. It's the field going down the back straightaway, 2 by 2 wide. Wentz slotting back up into traffic. Looking for that race lead is Rutana in the 50 machine. Hill will go to the race lead with a little bit of a push there from Gregory. Bugging in and out are a couple of drivers. That's Davi Barbosa with a little bit of a light rear end to the 99. Quickly falling back on the outside are the 74 and the 100 as the field will head for home to complete lap number 1 of the 40 scheduled laps here this evening at Grand Junction. Apollo Hyde looking to not end up in the attenuator like she did a handful of years ago back in the Fuel Super Speedway series. Bump drafting there with that 74 machine of LaPrade. These guys falling just outside of the top 5. Ike Durbin gunning for 3rd. Your Augusta winner from the 2nd race of the season will now slot inside the podium. Now Barbosa moving to the inside. A little bit of a nudge there from the 99. From the 9 of Schizzato. Barbosa moving all over the track. Gets really loose going through turn 3. Schizzato and Barbosa nearly touched there, going through the short chute of between turns 3 and 4. Aggressive block for the race lead there from Rutana in the 50. Rutana with the race lead coming around, and now Schizzato nearly got into the attenuator, and a great save there out of the 9. As now Gregory goes up the racetrack in the 30 to the inside of the 100 of Hyde. Lucas Kennedy making some ground, and Kennedy nearly loses it going into turn 2. A great save out of that AF number 20 machine, but they're in the outside wall. And Kennedy will immediately fall back to last on the pylon, and a tough break early on for Kennedy. But still plenty of time to go in this race as we're only 3.5 laps into the Grand Junction Grand Prix. Live here on the tape delay on YouTube on the North American Sim Racing Network. Glad to have everybody aboard for tonight's contest here. Of course, this race and the season finale will both be tape delayed here on the NESRN. LaPrade. I think LaPrade just needs to run in 10th and he will essentially lock up the championship. Schizzato under fire from Hyde as Hyde is going to shoot the gap between the 9 and the 74. Hyde in the middle, trying not to break the pickle, and Schizzato will bump off of the outside wall. Able to hold on to the momentum in that 9, will slot in front of Daly, and now Daly gives the 9 a little bit of a bump going down the back straightaway. A lot of action all over the place early on in this contest. And now Daly up into the outside wall. Hits it hard, remains straight. Even if he spun, that would be a single, not a multi. It would remain green. Here on lap number 4 of the event, now Gregory on the flat part of the track is able to hold on to it. Loose out of turn 4 was Blake Warren. Warren able to hold on to it as well, as everybody's still on top of one another. And how about Vincenzo Focasato? Started this race in 8th, already up to 2nd. And now LaPrade has found the inside lane going through 1 and 2 at this track that is basically a bigger, flatter, and sandier version of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, essentially the Indianapolis of the West. Here at Grand Junction, Rutana, Focasato, and LaPrade, top 3 pulling a little bit away from Barbosa. Now Barbosa trying to be on the back end of the 74, and that 99 is warping all over the place. LaPrade's got to be careful as here comes Focasato for the race lead. Hyde got shoved off of the low perch. They might be 4 wide off of 4. They'll file it down to 3 wide as the 42 nearly got hooked by the 9. Sorensen trying to go for the last of first challenge here, 5 laps into the race. And Rutana getting shuffled back to 4th after leading the most laps in this contest so far. Oh, Stallhood a little bit loose and going into turn 1. Nearly caught the front end of Daly. There's the number 22 of Carrillo. Right in there, that bright number 22, that blank 22 machine. Trying to thunder their way to the front end of the field. Tyler Stallhood, who finished 2nd in the race at Talladega on Wednesday evening. Trying to make some headway in that 7 machine as well. Rotana falling back in the 50 as we close in the first quarter of the race. Focusado and Laprade out front. Rafaela Sorensen in 3rd. A little bit of a back-end shimmy from that Bell South number 42 car. Everybody's still in line. We have seen a couple of drivers been able to make moves, and you're able to make moves like that at a flat super speedway like Grand Junction. Barbosa hard into the outside wall. Rotana nearly being spun as well. Rotana into the 99. Everybody is able to save it, and we remain green. And what a save there out of Mike Rotana and by Davy Barbosa, but heavy. Right side damage on that Jeff Burton number 99 car, and both drivers will trek towards the tail end of the field. Lucas Kennedy has lost touch with the rest of the field. Here comes Sorensen to the inside of Focusado. Sorensen doing the last of first challenge, drafting help from the 9 of Schizzato. Gregory back in there. 4 cars in line, down on the low side, but the high lane starting to get a little bit of mojo going their way. Gregory will pop out of line in the 30 car, and now it'll be 3 wide for the race lead potentially. We had 3 separate instances of tandem drafting, but now everybody will break up. Here comes Jason Stereo in the 96 machine, moving inside the top 5. They'll be gunning for the race lead. Gregory slotting back in 3rd, and it's Schizzato and Sorensen nose to tail. The 2 significant others. Tandem drafting here at the Grand Junction Motorsports Complex. Gregory back in 3rd. Now the high lane starting to make some moves. Here comes Blake Ward, an established super speedway racer. Had a great run going until late at the Talladega Super Speedway in the Ash Industries Silver Screen Shootout. Silver Screen Showdown, I should say. But that 12th machine up inside the top 5. And it's a 3-car breakaway with Will Gregory right on the back end of Sorensen and Schizzato. Fastest lap of the race belonging to Rafaela Sorensen of 56.931 on the gun. Now Warren into Keon Daly. Warren shoots up the racetrack, is able to keep the 12 off the outside wall. Those 2 both established veteran drivers so far here in 2025, and a great save out of both of them. Daly looking to take 2nd in the points lead away from Apollo Hyde, I believe. Although Hyde is looking to make a little bit of a charge here at 2nd for this championship. Meanwhile, Dunn Laprade way back in the pack all the way. Not sure where Laprade that last time by, running in 12th, so he is dropped out of all this mess. Schizzato going from bottom to top, back down to the bottom, and here comes a run on the outside lane from Stereo. Stereo getting a big shove from Apollo Hyde. Now Hyde jumps out of line, nearly clips the left rear quarter panel of Stereo. That 100 machine was fishtailing through turns 1 and 2. A very loose setup on the super speedway for Hyde, and a very loose setup for everybody on the fixed setup here in the Sportsman series. And all the parity being shown out here in droves. Warren up in here, we'll give it a little bit of a tap to the rear end of the 30. Up the racetrack goes Stereo. Hyde goes with him. Hyde very loose in between the 96 and the 94. And all this is happening behind the 9 and the 42. Now Gregory gets shoved off. Able to make a nice save on the inside, but he is going to fall way out of line. Stereo aggressively moving from top to bottom, trying to get a little bit of drafting help, and here comes Stallhood poking his way up to 4th. Stereo pushed out of line. He goes up the racetrack, able to catch that 92 car. 96, I should say, as we're only a quarter of the way through the race. A quick moving race so far. And everybody's still within a relative striking distance of one another, but Lucas Kennedy all the way back in 33rd. He's going to need a caution to come out here. But again, we're only a quarter of the way through the race, and we've been racing here for about 10 minutes time. That was one car. That is Crystal Bennett. Thought was going down the racetrack, and now Warren gets punted into the outside wall. Davi Barbosa got into the 12, and Warren will head to the boondocks in the Menards number 12 machine, and a tough break for Warren, who was running in 3rd at the time. And he will quickly fall outside of the top 10. Now the top couple of drivers all in line as Sorensen got pushed outside of the top 5. And Schizzato in a little bit of a sitting duck with that 7 Subaru right behind Schizzato. Sold a dummy to the outside. Here comes Stallhood to the inside. Schizzato throwing the block down the back straightaway. Here comes Hyde with a boatload of momentum. Able has to jump on the brakes. And now Stallhood a little bit loose. Very loose, and is able to make a save. Daly out of control. He'll save that Cinnabon Dodge. Couple of really good saves out of all of these drivers here on the 12th lap of the race, and I've got a feeling that this caution-free contest is not going to stay caution-free for long. Ratana trying to get back in the mix. You got Sorensen up in here, back inside the top 10, trying to get back inside the top 5. Inside lane, the dominant lane, but Stallhood trying to dump some air on the back end of the 42, but that 7 Subaru is going to fall back into the clutches of Ratana in the 50. Barbosa's back in here. And of course, how can we forget about that number 84 machine of Crystal Bennett, defending Super Speedway winner here in the Fuel Racing League, won that Talladega race a handful of days ago in the Ash Industries Silver Screen Showdown. Right now, rockin' P10 trying to move their way up inside this field. Driver is jockeying all over the place now. Apollo Hyde will try to shove the 9 off the high perch on the top of the pylon. Hyde has got a run down the front straight away. Schizzato and Sorensen back linked up together, but Hyde will lead lap number 13, and now Schizzato a little bit of momentum. We nearly had 4 wide brewing for the race lead. And I am very impressed with how these guys and gals have been able to race so far. Schizzato, Hyde, Sorensen, the podium. Now we've got 2 established lanes at the front end of the field. Bottom lane, a little bit more momentum. Hyde caught in the middle. Now Daly gets shoved off, able to hold on to that 94. Daly now looking to make a charge. Same thing for Stallhood. Sorensen and Schizzato have been a force here on the drafting tracks. These 2 teammates linking up with one another. They're still nose to tail. Stallhood trying to break up the duo. Even though Sorensen is in a Dodge and Schizzato is in a 4, these 2 drafting partners. And Stallhood with a little bit of a push from the 100. You've got this 2 significant others and the 2 fuel admins. Little tandem drafting. Schizzato gets out of line. Now Schizzato will protect the top. An aggressive block up high. Going back down to the low side. 3 wide for second. Now 3 wide for the race lead as Hyde looking to put the charge. Ratana moving up the racetrack. Nearly caught the 100. Hyde playing very aggressive back in here, and I don't blame Dunlaprod for one moment as the 12 of Blake Warren back down to the inside. But hey, these guys are all back up in this battle, even though Laprade is all the way back in the midway through the field, the back end of the field. He's still very much in the mix for this race lead. Only, God, not even a whole second off. He is 0.8 of a second off from the race lead back in 13th, excuse me. Kenny Campos, a blinker in the back. We'll track back a little ways away as we approach the midway point through the Grand Junction Grand Prix. Mike Rattana back in the mix in third. And the two cars to beat so far tonight have been Emi Schizzato and Rafaela Sorensen. 4 laps to go until the midway point, and to be honest, we have no idea when these guys will come down the pit lane. But this has been epic super speedway racing here so far tonight. Rattana and Hyde linking up together. Hyde very loose out of the corner. Now Barbosa will give another shove to the 94. Everybody's still loose with one another. Now Stallhood squirrely in the 7 Subaru. And he'll trot back along with Focasato and Warren. Top 15 all within one another. 3 stragglers towards the tail end. That is Carrillo, Wentz, and Lucas Kennedy. Hyde's just trying to break up the top 2, but it is like breaking open a coconut from American Dad. If you know, you know, but Hyde right on the rear end of Sorensen. Rafaela getting a little bit of a bump, nearly went into the inside wall. And Barbosa loose in turn 1, and they're able to make a great save. Hyde now has the run on the outside, and of course, Dunlop, like we just said, he's very much still in the mix here. Despite he just needs a top 10 run to clinch the championship with the points that he'll get. He's running in 5th. I think it's probably, he's just probably one hand on the wheel and the other hand probably on his phone right now. Just effortless from Dunlop, and he is still up inside the top 5. We approach the midway point through this race, and these guys with these worn out tires getting very, very racy as Laprade will give a bump to the back end of the 100. Schizzato has been out for about the last 6 or 7 consecutive laps. Sorensen continuing to play defense on that inside lane. Now Sorensen might have a little bit of a ledge. He's able to drag the brake at the last second, allows Schizzato to come back in. Stallhood back in the dance. Same thing with Barbosa, who's been to the outside wall a couple of times. Hyde utilizing the run on the inside, the outside lane. Trying to break up this duo of the 9 and 42. Stereo, Daly, Durbin, Focasato, and Rattana among the drivers still in the dance with the top 15, all within a second of one another. Now the field will catch up to Lucas Kennedy to put the 20 machine 1 lap down. Next time by will be the midway point through what has been a relatively quick moving Grand Junction Grand Prix. Everybody will go to the inside of Lucas Kennedy, an aggressive block down low from the 9, and here comes the 100 storming by on the outside lane. Barbosa trying to move in there in the 99, and here comes Warren trying to make that 3rd lane work on the inside. Schizzato blocking the 42. Those two disrupting the momentum is exactly what Apollo Hyde is going to want to see. Hyde on the outside lane as Laprade will shift down to the low side. Cross flags this time by halfway home through the Grand Junction Grand Prix, and Emi Schizzato has been the car to beat all evening long so far. Now Hyde, high up the racetrack, lost all the momentum in the 100, and that'll split things up for the race lead for just a moment. No time like the present to go downstairs into our snap-on race break. Emi Schizzato, the race leader. Rafaela Sorensen playing defense in 2nd. Davi Barbosa is 3rd. Dunlop 4th. William Gregory rounds out the top 5. Tyler Stallhood is 6th. Keon Daly 7th. Blake Warren is 8th. Jason Stereo 9th. 10th is Crystal Bennett. 11th, Ike Durbin. 12th, Apollo Hyde. 13th, Vincenzo Focasato. 14th, Mike Rutana. 15th is Kenny Campos. 16th, Gustavo Carrillo. 17th is Corbin Wentz, who is down the pit lane. And now everybody's going to come down the pit lane here. Lucas Kennedy last and 18th on the grid. And perfect timing for the end of our snap-on race break as the field right at the midway point, a couple laps past the midway point, will come down for the opening cycle of pit stops here this evening. There's a look at Blake Warren. Looks like that 12 machine just doing a gas and go and making some repairs. Big shout out to Blake Warren for providing the replay for this evening's race. He is out and away, and Schizzato is going to get shuffled back here on this green flag run, it looks like. Dunlop Pride will cycle out front in the 74 for this pack. The second pack will be coming down here. Carrillo will come down, and here comes Stallhood. Oh, and a late pin entry there for the 84 of Bennett. They're able to jump on the brakes and get down the pit lane in time. And we'll see where the rest of these drivers will come out. Jason Stereo, along with these 4 drivers to make it a 5 bunch down the pit lane. Corbin Wentz right now, tail end of the lead lap. Seeing this 74 car rim around turns 3 and 4. Oh, Stereo overshot his pit box, and that is going to cost him dearly in the 96. That's going to be a lot of time lost there for Stereo as the field rumbling and banging towards the front. Stereo finally out of his box, but he is going to lose a ton of time. Apollo Hyde, first one out for the race leaders, as Carrillo will be on the tail end of the lead lap. Hyde is out, and where does the rest of the field will gain an advantage? And it looks like they will, but they're going to be swallowed up like a fly in a Venus flytrap here in just a couple of moments. Here comes the pack led by Mike Rutana. Rutana will get around Crystal Bennett. Now Emmy Schizzato trying to make up for lost time in the 9, but Schizzato and Sorensen got mixed up on the pit lane. And Sorensen shuffled a little ways back. So now Sorensen trying to catch up to the 9 of Schizzato, which they are separated by about 8 positions on the racetrack right now. But Apollo Hyde now leads. 17 laps to go in what has been a highly entertaining race at the Grand Junction Motorsports Complex, and the 2 fuel administrators running 1-2 on the pylon right now with a 2-second gap over the rest of the pack, but that gap is going to be very, very small, and this second pack is going to catch up to these race leaders probably by the time we reach the start-finish line, even though we've got Stallhood and Hyde tandem drafting nose to tail. The sheer speed and momentum of this pack is going to envelop them very, very quickly. Stallhood and Hyde just trying to hold on, but here comes Gregory and Rutana. Rutana in the 50. Not going to quite catch up to the 2 race leaders, but they definitely more than 2 seconds behind them, make it half a second behind them. Here comes the lead pack. Schizzato shuffled out of line in the 99, 16 laps to go. And we'll see if everybody will be content on train racing towards the tail end of this race. Jason Stereo is going to get knocked out of contention in the number 96. All 18 cars still on the lead lap, or still in the race, I should say. Only 16 cars are on the lead lap, with Carrillo right on the back end of that in the 22. Focasato bugging in and out in the BWT number 37. It's been a caution-free affair for the opening 25 laps. Hyde leads at Stallhood, running in second, exactly where he was a handful of days ago in the Talladega Superspeedway. Schizzato, the dominant car of the afternoon, running in third. Might not be for long, and a big shove coming on the outside from Focusato. And here comes Sorensen, back behind that 9 machine. These two have been the class of the field so far tonight. Sorensen trying to link back up with a 9, and Ratana goes up the racetrack. He's into the outside wall. No harm, no foul, that 50 machine. Able to hold on to it, but he's going to lose a lot of spots. Blake Warren coming up down the inside, trying to get back up in here. "12 cars all underneath of a blanket with one another. And now Stallhood goes to the race lead in the 7. Hyde is going to jump out. Schizzato thought about getting around the 7 now. She's going to have to get back in line in front of Haffiella. Sorensen will drag the brake just a little bit, allows the 9 to get back in. Stallhood now leads. Now the field catching up on Gustavo Carrillo in the 22. Carrillo in that 22 machine up on the outside, and Stallhood, right now the Pied Piper of Grand Junction, trying to hold on. Schizzato goes high, now goes down low, and Stallhood throws the block. Schizzato is able to keep it on the road. I'm not sure if that's going to be a penalty for Stallhood for forcing the 9 machine below the yellow line. If that was real-life NASCAR, that would be a penalty, but this ain't real-life NASCAR. This is the Fuel Racing League, where it is ultimate anarchy on the track. You want to join, and now Ratana hard into the outside wall will collect the 22, and that'll be the first caution of the afternoon. A horrifying crash as Mike Ratana went head-on into the outside wall in turn 4. And this race just got flipped onto its head. The caution is out for the opening time, and Mike Ratana absolutely destroyed in that 50 machine, and that is, goodness gracious, that was one of the hardest hits that I think I have ever seen here. We've got moderate damage here in the Sportsman level, so to see a car that destroyed means that 50 machine absolutely took a tumble and a half. And thank you, Apollo, for saying that there's no double yellow line rule in fuel. I figured it was that way. It was going to be essentially. I was trying to use that as a segue to say, hey, no double yellow line in fuel if you want to join. Link for the Discord is down in the description. We're always open to new members. Like, we've seen a couple of new faces here. One of them, of course, being Mike Ratana, who might need some facial work after going head-on into the wall like that. Once the field comes down the pit lane, we'll take a look at the replay. Good news for the tape-delayed broadcast is that, hey, if the game crashes while looking at the replay, we can always get back to where we were. But who comes down the pit lane? Vincenzo Focusato is going to fake it. And it doesn't look like, oh, we'll get a couple of takers down the pit lane. Of course, Ratana, who is fortunately able to drive that 50 machine back. Lucas Kennedy and Keon Daly will be the 3 takers down the pit area. Now we'll go into the replay of what happened there as Mike Ratana going head-on into that inside wall. I don't think I have ever seen a car hit head-on a wall like that. That's not what you want. Truthfully, that is not what you want. If we take a look at it here, it all got started when Barbosa just popping the 50 car a little bit and send that car sideways, and a horrifying crash nearly through the fence and nowhere to go for Gustavo Carrillo. Carrillo will pop that 50 car in the side, and I think, yeah, we had another, that was another weight shift flip there from that solo number 50 machine. And going for a wild ride in that Pontiac Grand Prix was Mike Rattana. First time we're seeing him here in the Fuel Sportsman series. Not sure if he's done the last couple of races for Sportsman, but it's the first time we're seeing him here on the North American Sim Racing Network, going up into the outside wall for good measure once more. I think he'll do one more flip before landing that 50 machine on all four Goodyear Eagles. And fortunately, being able to drive away from the accident scene, we'll take another couple of looks at this. Take one look on board with Rattana, and then one look in real time, and then we'll get back to the racing action here in just a brief jiffy. So taking a look at the view from Mike Rattana. Hold on to your buckets, folks. A couple of very, very hard hits there for that solo number 50 Pontiac, and fortunately didn't get hit by anybody else but the 22. But a couple of really, really hard shots there, and not what you want for Rattana, who was running in 12th, was running as high as first at some points. So we take one final look at this accident. Rattana getting hit hard, head on into the inside wall. Doing a couple flips down the front straightaway, no harm, no foul. And again, between both Talladega and Grand Junction, the boys at these fab shops, Keon Daly nearly running into the attenuator there. These fab shop workers are going to be definitely getting their money's worth here after a lot of these races. But Tyler Stallhood will lead the way in car number 7. Going back through the gears here in just a couple of moments. It'll be 11 laps to go when the field will cross back under the start-finish line. And I got a feeling that, hey, we went caution-free for the first 27 laps. Then that happened. And with 11 laps to go, I don't think we're going to go caution-free from here on out. 11 more circuits, 33 miles to go. Green flag back out in the air. Stallhood, Schizzato, Sorensen, Focusato, and Hyde, your top 5. And it's no more Mr. Nice Guy for pretty much everybody out in here. Sorensen did not get a good restart, and here comes the 100, trying to move to the inside of the 42. Subsequently, Schizzato trying to move to the inside of Stallhood. And now, both lanes trying to get some mojo working. Sorensen is now going to link up with their teammate of Schizzato. Stallhood, the race leader, trying to block that 9 machine, and here comes Sorensen. Once again, tapping the brake, and what a run for Hyde on the outside. Sorensen and Schizzato continuing to be nose to tail. Hyde coming around. 10 laps to go. Only 30 miles remaining here at Grand Junction. Sorensen is going to force the 74 car into the wall. There goes Hyde. There goes another driver. Hyde up into the air, and they're out of the ballpark. Hyde and Focusato off literally in the sandbox. And the big one striking, coming around at 10 laps to go. That was Crystal Bennett that also went upside down. Blake Warren upside down as well. And that 100 machine and the 37 both went over the catch fence. And thank God that there was not any fans there in turns 1 and 2, because that would have absolutely been the final destination sport ender. And Apollo Hyde, who we mentioned went into the attenuator during the Fuel Super Speedway series, once again have the bad luck of Grand Junction destroy that 100 car. And yeah, that is what a destroyed couple of machines look like with moderate damage. Tyler Stallhood winning the race back to the caution flag. And with that crash, that is essentially going to give this championship that number 74 machine. Well, I'd say this was pretty damn interesting. We're going to take a look and see what happened. Right as the field was coming down, we're going to take a handful of looks at this. Because starting with Apollo Hyde, I think you're going to get a little bit of a shove there from the 12 of Warren. Just tapping the left rear corner panel. For this speed, that is enough to send Hyde down into the 74. Ricochets back up the racetrack into the outside wall. Warren, I think, yeah, Warren's going to go upside down. Nowhere for Focusata to go. Bennett is also going to go hard into the outside wall. Focusata around in the 37. Stereo was also involved, but watch this 37 car into the 100, and these two, that is a classic warp crash. And like Kenny Campos just about did at Darlington for the first tape delay broadcast we had this season, these two are off in the boonies, and they're off in the Basin. Apollo Hyde, more like Apollo 11, rocketing up into the air, and a couple of destroyed automobiles, and everybody was able to pretty much get back going. Oh my lord. That's a great view of that. Look at how destroyed that rear end of that 100 machine is. I really don't know. Good God. Bennett around in the 84, the 12 of Warren going upside down, and we got to take a couple of different looks at this accident. Because, goodness gracious. We'll start from the nose of Blake Warren, who was the one first send the 100 machine around. Yeah, it's a little bit of a tap on the left rear quarter panel, and then nowhere to go for Blake. Going upside down a handful of times, and well, we finally got the game to crash after only 45 minutes of broadcasting, so we'll go ahead and boot things back up here. Only took 45 minutes for the game to crash, but yeah, Apollo, I agree. Apollo, your car would have been a home run in Yankee Stadium. I think your car would have been a home run in the Polo Grounds. Holy crap. Again, I don't think I've ever seen a 100 car destroyed quite like that. So let's try this replay once again for Blake Warren. Do it from the front bumper cam of Warren's machine. Taps the 100. Nowhere to go. Rocketing upside down. You see the 37 and everybody else, and the Ford and the 100 just off in the boonies. Fortunately, Blake was able to drive away. But, as a wise man once said, not what you want. We'll take a handful of more looks at this accident. Let's look from the front end of, let's look from Jason Stereo's point of view here. From the nose of the number 96. Caught up in this mess, and yeah, getting a really good shot of the 37 and the 100 flying off into the sunset. Jason able to hold on to the brakes, and we'll drive away from this accident scene. We'll get two more onboard looks here. Starting with the 37 of Vincenzo Focusato. Right behind Blake Warren. Yeah, I think Vocasato's got a little bit of help from behind, and yeah, when you see sand, that's not exactly a good sign. And Focusato will come to rest upside down in turns 1 and 2. And I think y'all know what we got to do here for the final onboard replay. On board with Apollo 11. It's Apollo Hyde. Big shove, big contact, big hits. Not what you want. And that'll essentially decide the championship there with both of those cars out of the ballpark. It's a home run. And they'll be out of the race here, coming around with 10 laps to go with a horrifying crash on lap number 31. Getting one more look at this crash in real time, following with Apollo Hyde. Hyde thought was going to stay in the ballpark, got that hit from the 37, and away they go. Goodness gracious. Good night, Irene. Well, we thought the complexion of this race was going to change after that caution with only 13 laps to go, and now Apollo Hyde and Vincenzo Focusato have been taken out. But as one fuel admin has been taken out of the race, the other fuel admin continues to hold on to the race lead here. And will hold on for the time being. It's Tyler Stallhood with the race lead. Coming around to only a handful of laps to go, 6 laps to go. A couple of drivers that were involved in the accident coming down the pit lane. Pace car heading back down the pit lane, and your top 5 going back through the gears. Stallhood, Schizato, Sorensen, Laprade, and Durbin. Green flag back out in the air. 6 laps to go from Grand Junction. Taking a look at everybody knocked out. Only a handful of cars. Only 2 cars knocked out from that incident. 16 cars still on track. Only 1 car lap down that number 22 machine of Carrillo. And Schizato and Stallhood shooting out like a couple of rockets here off of the restart. Schizato is looking to poke down to the inside of Stallhood. Once again, there's no double yellow line rule because fuel is awesome. Fuel is so awesome that if anybody is watching this race in the future, link for the fuel Discord down in the description box below. Hope everybody is able to tune in. We'd love to have everybody join the Fuel Racing League, and nearly taking out the teammate there was the 42 of Sorensen. And Schizato just able to get down that ledge between the 42 and the 7. 5, count 'em, 5 laps to go for Tyler Stallhood. Keon Daly back up in the mix there with the 94. Same thing with the 30 and the 99. Gregory Barbosa. And how about Lucas Kennedy going back up in here in that 20 machine? Spending all day towards the tail end of the field. Just outside of the top 10. I'm not sure how slow that 12 machine of Blake Warren is. I think he is very slow at the moment. Maybe a non-factor. Daly down to the inside. Hold on to it, Keon. Hold on to it. Schizato got shuffled up to the high side. Gregory giving a little bit of a donut to the 86. And Daly shoving it all to the inside of the table. Durbin right behind him. And now Sorensen in front of Schizato. Durbin nearly hitting the attenuator, nearly pulling a Hyde. Nearly pulling a Rocket Man Apollo Hyde right there. We're past the 5 laps to go. No more yellows at this point. If a wreck happens now, that'll be the end of that'll not be the end of the race. Oh, Keon very squirrely in front of that 86 car. And here we go. Sardine Simulator down the back straightaway. Stereo is back in the mix in the 96. Same thing with Kennedy. He's right on the back end of the 30 car. Stallhood with a challenger from that inside line. Here comes Sorensen. Oh, and Durbin spins around the 86. Able to hold on to it, but that'll be the end of his competitive evening. And a tough break for your Augusta winner, and Ike Durbin will not win today. Three to go. Rafaela Sorensen, the race leader right now. Stallhood, very squirrely on the inside. Schizato going around, takes out the 84 and the 96. Emi Schizato, the dominant car of the evening, will be taken out past the point of no return, and another gut-wrenching result for Schizotto. That is absolutely heartbreaking as Schizotto got punted out of line, and we'll take a look at what happened after the race is over. But the race is on. Daly gets shoved down to the inside, comes back up the track, nearly taking out LaPrade. Oh, now Bennett shoved to the outside, makes contact with the 94, and if I'm done, I'm thinking, I want to win this championship, but I need to stay alive to win this championship. 2 laps to go here at Grand Junction. Stallhood, the race leader, Sorensen, now with no drafting help behind them. Not sure where they're going to go. They're trying to go to the outside. Kennedy now up to 3rd somehow. And LaPrade is going to have a chance to win this race. He's locked up the championship. He's going to say, screw it. We're going to go after this. Something happened to the back. Kenny Campos nearly spinning back there. So now this pack has now been diminished. Stallhood gets shoved off for the race lead. Sorensen now to the top of the point. Kennedy in second. Stallhood now being pushed by Kennedy. Can Rafaela Sorensen hold on? Stallhood now back down to the inside. Kennedy in second, but it's Rafaela Sorensen leading. White flag in the air. It's the bell lap at Grand Junction. 3 miles to go in Clifton, Colorado. Sorensen trying to hold on. Here comes Kennedy. Stallhood spins in front of the pack. Couple of cars up into the catch fence. We remain green. Now it's a 2-horse race, potentially 3 if Barbosa can get up in here. It's a match race at the moment right now between Kennedy and Sorensen. Kennedy trying to draft right behind that 42 machine. Here he comes to the outside. Half a lap to go in Grand Junction. Barbosa up in 3rd. Sorensen trying to hold on, bobbing a little bit going through the corner. It's all going to come down to the final corner, turns 3 and 4. Through turn 4, Sorensen bobbles a little bit. Here comes the 20. He's got drafting help. They're going to be side by side. Dead heat at the finish line. Sorensen, Kennedy, Sorensen, Kennedy at the stripe. Lucas Kennedy out of nowhere will win at Grand Junction. From the back all day to the win by 3/10 of a second, Lucas Kennedy will get the job done. For Sorensen, it's another gut punch for both Schizotto and Sorensen. It was Barbosa. It was all going to come down to who Barbosa was going to give drafting help to. And we have got a couple of replays to get to. Holy shnikey. Lucas Kennedy leads 1 lap today, and I don't know what the hell that was. I love NR Online. Blake Warren gets his machine completely totaled. I gotta see these last couple of laps once again. And we're gonna start with Emi Schizotto getting turned around in the 9. Because I thought that was where things absolutely changed in this race. As you see Schizotto right behind, you just got a little bit of a shove there from Daly, and around goes the TQ number 9 machine. Just barely caught Crystal Bennett and Jason Stereo, nowhere to go in the 96, and that 9 car almost went upside down. But that was not what you want there. And Carrillo nearly running in the back end of the 9. And then with 2 laps to go, it was pretty much all hell broke loose here. Because, well, that's what happened back in here. Bennett, that's what happened to Daly and Bennett. As, yeah, Bennett got turned sideways, or I think just got a little bit of a tap there from Daly. And that's why the back end of the field split up the way that it did. And getting a tap from behind was the 94. That's why Keon was spun around by Kenny Campos. And then this final lap, good Lord. we've had 4 cars in the catch fence today. I think that's a new record. I could be mistaken. And this all got started when Tyler Stallhood throws an aggressive block down low, gets pinched by Laprade, and Laprade, who's already locked up the championship, trying to get around the 7, goes up the racetrack, stereo into Gregory, and Gregory up into the catch fence along with Jason Stereo. That's 4 more cars completely totaled. And fortunately, they were able to stay in the catch fence, so they weren't off playing in the sandbox. But that completely broke up the pack from there on out. And well, we're going to take a look at everything down in here, this entire last little stretch. And again, it was Barbosa that went ahead with the 20 machine, not with the 42. And again, whoever Barbosa went with at the end there was going to be who was going to end up winning this race. Stun Laprade is going to finish 4th, so he'll officially lock up the championship. But Kennedy, I'm surprised Sorensen didn't try to pinch that 20 car, maybe make some contact, push him up the track. Barbosa was coming in a hurry. And right at the start-finish line, that's the margin of victory right there. By half a car length. Gut-wrenchingly close for these drivers in here, trying to see... yeah, there it is. That's the margin of victory. A little over a little bit under 3/100ths of a second. I think it came down to maybe 28 thousandths of a second. It looked a heck of a lot closer in real time. But goodness gracious, I'm so glad we did the tape delay. I wish we did this race live, but of course, alas, I had a hockey broadcast Friday evening, and I've got another hockey broadcast this coming Friday evening. So the season finale, which is going to be an absolute banger, I'm not going to be able to see live, but goodness gracious, it doesn't get any closer than that right there. And Lucas Kennedy, who was a lap down at one point based on speed, survives the chaos and wins a wild one. Here at the Grand Junction Motorsports Complex, and good Lord, that is about as crazy as it gets here in the Fuel Racing League. And we'll take a look at the official standings here for all of these drivers. So taking a look at the standings from top down, if I can pull it up here. And a big shout out to Blake Warren for providing everything to me late. I wasn't originally going to do this until later on last night. But yeah, taking a look at your top down standings after an incredible race. Lucas Kennedy, by 0.3 of a second, beats out Rafael Sorensen, who finishes in 2nd. Davi Barbosa ends up in 3rd. Don Laprade finishes in 4th. That is well enough to lock up the championship. Ike Durbin, after spinning, but is saving that car with 3 laps to go. Ike Durbin, who started in 5th, will get a top 5 finish. Corbin Wentz out of nowhere will finish in 6th. Glad to see Corbin up in there in that 6th spot, round out the 6-pack. Blake Warren will finish 7th. Tyler Stallhood 8th. Emmy Schizzato will round out in 9th. Crystal Bennett will round out the top 10. 11th was Keon Daly. 12th, Mike Rutana. 13th, Jason Stereo, 1 lap down, as Rutana was the last car on the lead lap. 14th was William Gregory. 15th, Kenny Campos. 16th, Gustavo Carrillo. 17th, Vincenzo Focasato. And 18th, the Rocket Man, Apollo Hyde. 10 laps down, finishing in the garage area. 2 cars failed to finish this race that were Focasato and Hyde. Everybody else was able to finish the race running here this evening at Grand Junction, but that is going to do it from the Grand Junction Motorsports Park. Congratulations once again to Lucas Kennedy for winning the Grand Junction Grand Prix, and we have got some more action here this week for the Fuel Racing League coming at you this Wednesday evening at 8:55 pre-race. It'll be Pikes Peak at Pikes Peak for the 3rd to final race of Season 7 of the Fuel Grand National Series from Pikes Peak International Raceway. And then next Sunday evening, I believe it will be, either Sunday or Monday evening will be the tape-delayed season finale for the Fuel Sportsman series here on the North American Sim Racing Network. But on behalf of everybody at the Fuel Racing League and on the NASRN, my name is Trey Wright saying so long from Clifton, Colorado. This has been a presentation of the North American Sim Racing Network's coverage of the Fuel Racing League. Have a great evening, ladies and gentlemen.